This is the Insta360 GO 3, and this camera is really tiny. Like, for context, here are my AirPods. It is a really small camera, literally half the size. In a kind of weird way, it kind of makes me want to eat it. Disclaimer, this camera is not edible. It definitely is one of the most versatile cameras out there. You can magnetically attach it to things, and not just the mounts. Any old object that is metallic, it will magnetically attach to. You can put it in weird positions, camera angles that you couldn't normally get before. And you can also, using this magnetic pendant, attach it like a necklace and take some really cool POV shots. In this video, we're gonna check out this camera. We're gonna look at the video quality, the audio quality, the best bits, the worst bits, and then you can decide if you wanna buy one. As always, being Indian, I am gonna start with the price. So this comes in a 32 gig, 64 gig, and a 128 gigabyte storage. The storage is internal, so there's no memory card inside this little device. The 32 gig version is currently for sale in the UK at £342. Now that includes the camera, the action mod, this magnetic pendant, this little swivel mount, and also a little clip mount as well. Now this is the action pod, which basically acts like the housing unit for this camera. It fits in like this, magnetically attaches. You can see on the viewfinder on the back what's happening on the front of that camera. If you then detach the camera and take it out and point it in another direction, the viewfinder is still working. So it's still looking at what you're looking at on the camera. So you can use that to line up shots, which is a pretty cool feature. Now on the GO 3 itself, we've got a little lens at the front with a lens cover on. At the back, we've got a little magnetic attachment, so you can use that to attach to Insta's normal magnetic things, like this one here, that will magnetically attach. On the action pod, you've got a screen at the back which flips up. So you can shoot that in kind of like a selfie mode if you wanted to. When we flip the screen down, we've got a record button at the top. We've got an on and off button at the side. We've got a quick menu button as well, which takes you into specific shooting modes. And then at the bottom, we've got the same magnetic attachments. It charges with a USB-C, so there's a USB-C port there. And there's a little button on the side which you can press, which means you can then remove the camera from the action pod. Now, let's talk specs. This camera weighs in at a whopping 35 grams. That is literally nothing. Not literally nothing, it's almost nothing. It's the world's smallest action camera. It can shoot in 2.7K up to 30 frames per second. It's waterproof up to 5 meters. That is this little camera alone. If you take it with the action pod, that is only splash proof. The action pod, if it went to 5 meters, would drown a sorry death. The battery life is up to 45 minutes with just the camera, or within the housing units can go up to 170 minutes. The camera's got 2 built-in microphones, which you'll see are pretty good. It's also got voice control and can be used as a webcam. Now, with all of these things, it can look a certain way, it can have certain specifications, but if the video is not good and the audio is not good, there is just no point having it. I went out and took some sample footage to show you guys. I've been playing around with it for quite some time. Now, this is a video shot in 2.7K at 30 frames per second. So this is the maximum shooting capacity of this camera in the highest resolution at the highest frame rate. And I'm actually really impressed by this. When I first learned that the camera couldn't shoot in 4K, I was a bit apprehensive, but having seen the quality of this video footage, I'm actually so impressed by this. This is shot in a normal YouTube format, which is 16:9. So if you decide, actually, you don't want to shoot for YouTube, you want to be shooting for TikTok or for Instagram or YouTube Shorts, you don't even have to turn the camera. The camera stays where it is. You can just change the aspect ratio that you're shooting in the video modes of the camera. There's also a free flow mode that basically means you can crop it in post-production without losing any resolution, so you could take a bigger video basically. Although this 2.7K only goes to 30 frames per second, if you drop down to 1440p, that does go up to 50 frames per second. It also has some really simple, easy shooting modes as well. So on the main menu, which is pretty self-explanatory, we've got video, free frame video, time lapse, time shift, slow motion, loop recording, star lapse, interval, HDR photo, regular photo, and video. Here's an example of a time lapse that I took with the camera, and the cool thing about this is that this camera at that time was just attached to a random post. So there was a metallic post, a gate on the side of a building. I stuck it to the gate, hit time lapse on the action pod, and it just shot this really cool time lapse. So That's a really cool thing to be able to do, an easy way to be able to take time lapses, and I was pretty impressed with this one. Now, a lot of people are going to be using this kind of camera for vlogging. One of the important things about vlogging is that the audio quality needs to be clear. So I did a few audio tests, one in very poor conditions and one in ideal conditions, and here's what both of those sound like. I'm using the linear mode, so you're getting more of a straight video, like a normal camera. You're not getting that big, wide, fish-eyed look. And I kind of like the linear mode because at the end of the day, our human eyes are not fish eyes. It looks a lot more natural, unless you're a fish, in which case, use the ultra-wide. So now I'm testing the audio quality of the camera in what I would consider to be optimum conditions. We're inside, the room is not sound treated, there's not much noise outside. On this camera there's 2 microphones and it's currently attached to the action pod as well. I wonder what my voice sounds like here. Now I want to talk about some of the best things about this camera and some of the worst things about this camera. Like I've already alluded to, the number one has to be the size. The fact that a camera is this small makes it camera shutting down apparently. The fact that the camera is this small makes it very easy to take around. There's no excuse not to bring this with you because it is literally so small and doesn't weigh anything at all. When you consider this compared to my big vlogging setup with a DSLR and a big microphone and all of this stuff, it produces amazing video. But if it's difficult to carry around, you're less likely to take it around. It also, because of the size, can slip into weird places that you can't normally put a camera. Not there, that is filthy. It being small also means it's quite discreet as well. So if you're someone who gets a bit conscious about vlogging in public or videoing in public, or actually you just want to take something quietly without whipping out a big camera, this is perfect for that. The viewfinder aspect of things is also really helpful. So the fact that you can turn this on and use this as a viewfinder for this camera means that for a solo traveler or solo vlogger or solo action adventurer, this is also very helpful because you can attach it somewhere, you can then take this piece with you and walk with it and have a look and see and make sure your shot is lined up. I did a bit of a range test with this as well to see how far this went, and it went reasonably far. I think it could have gone further. I would say probably it went around 15 meters or so. The POV shots are also extremely unique, and I think that's one of the pros of this camera. The fact that even the base model of the camera comes with this and allows you to take these POV shots shows that this is what they want people to be doing with the camera. And there's a little attachment that you can attach to the pendant, and what it does is quite clever actually. It gives the pendant then a bit of an angle. You then have a bit of a downwards angle if you're shooting this way, or if you spin it round, you get a bit of an upwards angle. So even though it's dangling straight from you, the camera's pointing slightly up. For where we were in Manchester looking at the buildings, this turned out pretty cool. And then I was really messing around with it, and I took the little clip mount and I attached it to my cap, and I got this really funny top-down shot of my cap of me walking around. I think this highlights what the camera is for. It's these unique angles that you just can't get with other things. Shall I keep it on for the rest of the video? It's extremely easy to use. So like most of Insta's products, the menus are set out in a very thoughtful way, extremely easy to change settings like the resolution, the number of frames per second, the different shooting modes as well. The quick menu button also takes you into different settings like skiing or hiking or vlogging. So for someone new to this who's like, well, I am skiing, what do I do? You can just press the button. The photos on this camera look surprisingly good. I'm not often impressed by photos from action cameras, but I was impressed by the photos I took with this. Now they do take a long time, and I'll come on to that in a second. And finally, the battery life was reliable and lived up to what I was expecting, so that was quite impressive. And the audio quality, I think, indoors was great. Outdoors, there was a lot of wind distortion, but it still did a reasonable job considering how small the camera is. Now, all of the things I didn't like about the camera. Now, the first thing, the very obvious thing, is that it cannot shoot 4K. For some people, that is an absolute deal breaker. They need to shoot 4K. There has to be a compromise when you get a camera that is this small, with a lens this small, that is this portable. It also can't shoot 2.7K in anything more than 30 frames per second. So I can't shoot in 2.7K and get a 120 frames per second and then slow that down and get a really cool slow-mo shot in that resolution. It just can't do it. Again, a bit of give and take, but if that is something that's a deal breaker, is something that you would have to know. The second thing is that the viewfinder is a really cool option and a really cool thing to be able to do. I just wish it went further. This action pod connects to the camera with Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth range just for me wasn't quite long enough. I want to go really far away when I'm hiking to be able to take videos of myself and photos of myself. This distance just wasn't far enough for that. You could certainly put it down a few meters away, 5 or 10 meters away, and take your videos and pictures, but if you want to run to another kind of cliff, then it's just too far away for this camera to handle. The photos, while they looked pretty good, they took a really weirdly long time to take. Like when you clicked to press a photo, it did something where it said it was saving or processing or something like that, and the start to finish time of actually taking the photo was way too long for what I would have expected from a camera of this caliber. Because this connects to the screen with Bluetooth, even in the settings where it says there wouldn't be much of a delay, there is still a delay between the screen and what you're recording. So that might be an issue if you're recording something very specific, like a sports event or something you can't miss. And I found it a bit distracting sometimes when I was trying to record, but there was a delay between my mouth and the screen. And so when I'm looking at kind of myself at the same time, I found that a bit distracting. It obviously is not an actual delay when you look back at the footage, it's just a delay in transmission between this and this. Would I buy the Insta360 GO 3? I think that question comes down to why you want the camera. And with all of these things, it's not, is this better than the next camera? It's what would I use this camera for? And I don't know of many cameras that are in this very specific category of small cameras, POV cameras, very portable cameras, better than this. And so this would definitely be something that I will take, for example, traveling with me. It may not be the camera that I use to take every single shot all of the time, but to get some really unique angles in specific situations, to be able to take POVs and be really discreet with it, this is something I would definitely take on my next adventure. And I think it's worth the money if you're someone that is looking for something really unique to step up your filmmaking game. Guys, thanks for watching the video. My name is Kiran Majaria. This channel is so brand new, so please, if you are new and haven't been here before, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.